Hi everyone, and welcome to the book Refuge, and welcome to my winter book recommendations. So I did this for fall, I've done this for spring before. It's always hard for me to pick summer because I don't know which books remind me of summer. I kind of read everything, but today we're not talking about that. We're talking about winter because it's negative 15 outside my house in Fargo, North Dakota, and I want to tell you what you should read to stay warm and cozy, or to, if you live in a warm place, to help you feel the winter vibes, because maybe you don't have snow around you and you'd like to have some of the atmosphere of what that feels like. So wonder no more, I have brought some of them for you today. So let's get started with some of my favorite books to read in winter. First up, I want to start with one of my favorite books of 2019, which you'll be seeing that video real soon from me, so spoiler for that, is The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. I read this in January, so almost a full year ago from now, and I had such an atmospheric time with this. This is a story that it takes place over about a 16-year time period, and it involves Russian folklore and Russian household gods and just tons of, like, there's some Russian history involved in it, as well as some amazing characters. The main character of this story her name is Vasilisa. She goes by Vasya is what most people call her, and she is a girl who is more in tune with the household gods than others, because when you are a child, a lot of children can see the household gods, but as you grow up, you stop noticing them. And Vasilisa is the youngest child of this man and this woman, and then the woman dies, and he eventually takes a new wife, and his wife is a very religious woman, and she goes about totally ostracizing the household gods. And the household gods are important because they help you be prosperous, they help take care of you, and when you don't leave them presents, when you don't leave them things such as, milk or a crust of bread or doing things to please them, they start to die, and that is a very bad thing. And so Vasilisa, she can see them, and so she tries to help. And there's a lot of other story going on. There's also a Frost King. There is also an evil priest who, ooh, he's so creepy. But I read this during my 24-hour readathon I did at the beginning of this year, and the book has stuck with me the whole time. I'm going to be reading The Winter of the Witch this winter, probably in February, I think is when Murphy and I are going to read that together, and I cannot wait for it. I'm so excited. Next up, I couldn't do a winter reading rec without talking about East. This is Northchild, which is the UK edition of the book. This is a special edition that I got just a little bit ago. East is my favorite book of all time. This is a beautiful copy of it, by the way. I had to order it through, well, this one I was able to get on Amazon, but it was very expensive. But anyway, East is about a girl named Rose and a man who is cursed to be a white bear by a troll queen. This is based on the Norwegian fairy tale East of the Sun and West of the Moon, and it is magical, mystical, and just all the beautiful things. It has a kick-ass girl in it who, when she, how to say this, when she makes mistakes, she owns up to it and she does her best to fix it without any expectation of reward. Rose is one of my favorite female protagonists of all time, and pretty much everyone I've had read it has loved it, or at least understood why I loved it, and I really just have not had many bad experiences with it, except for my sister, who thought it was kind of boring. We share 90% of our reading interests, but one of them she didn't love is my favorite book of all time. What can you do about it? Next, I'm bringing back an oldie but a goodie, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is one of my favorite series. I hold no shame because I don't believe in shaming people for what they want to read. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, as well as a little bit of a mixture of some other things too. This is about a girl named Feyre, who she is the youngest of 3 sisters, and her family is slowly starving to death. And one day when she's out trying to catch a deer, a giant wolf comes through and she kills that wolf. And it turns out that the wolf she killed was actually a fae. And the cost of her killing this fae is that she must go and stay in the spring court with Tamlin, who is the High Lord of the Spring Court, and his entire court has been cursed, and she must stay with him forever. Maybe. If for some reason you haven't read this series, I didn't want to go too far with any of these. Maybe you're hesitating, maybe you're not. I consider this one, a lot of people call this new adult. I don't consider the first one that it needs to fit into new adult, but I really enjoyed it. My favorite in the series is the second book, but when I look back at this, I still think it has a lot to teach you about first love and about finding yourself and about realizing what your inner strength is. All three of these books, in my opinion, deal with different aspects of mental health, which I found done in a really respectful yet interesting way. And I just love Feyre. I love her so much. I think Tamlin has some things to say as well. No spoilers for later in the series. That's why I'm being a little vague about that. But I just think this is very atmospheric. It starts in winter, and I think you will fly through this trilogy. There's 3 in it right now. And this is the collector's edition. I was able to get this off of a book outlet for only $10, and it's normally $40, and it's gorgeous. But anyway, I had to recommend it because I feel like people don't talk about it too much anymore, but the trilogy is completely out, and I had a wild ride reading it. So there you go. Next, this is a recent read for me, and while it was emotionally draining, it was beautifully written, and it was a quick read, and it definitely is winter. And that is The Call of the Wild by Jack London. This is a classic novel. This was written by Jack London during the time of the gold rush, and it is about a house dog named Buck who gets kidnapped from California and taken to Alaska to work the mail lines for the for the U.S. mail, and he gets trained in to be a sled dog. And it is about the law of club and fang. Is it about staying alive? It is about the fight for dominance, and it is about finding your inner animal and who you are meant to be. And it is brutal. It is harsh. It's very hard on animals. If you love animals, be careful, because this broke my heart, but also I loved it. So I gave this book 5 stars. It's a pretty quick read. The version I had isn't even 100 pages. This is the Paper Mill Press from Book Outlet, and I just suggest you give it a try. Next, I want to talk about a book that I read last year, and that is I Am Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall. This book is about a girl named Jess. It says on the back, I am Jess Cooper and I'm still alive. And her mother dies, and she has to go live with her father in the Alaskan wilderness. And when she gets there, her father is killed. And not only killed, but murdered. And she knows that the men who killed her dad will be coming back. And so her and her dad's dog, Bo, had to find a way to survive until those men come back, because they'll be coming back with a plane, and the plane is her only hope of getting out of there. This is really cool. It has a lot of Hatchet vibes. In fact, Jess references Hatchet quite a lot. It was really daring. It was really insightful, and things don't come easy for her. In the same way that I really loved Hatchet, it is possible to survive in these situations, but she's a 16-year-old girl, and her father taught her a lot of aspects of survival, but that doesn't mean it's easy. And Jess doesn't get anything handed to her, and she has to work her butt off to live. And I just really appreciate it. It's compared to The Hatchet meets The Revenant, and I would totally agree with it. Jess, she also has some disabilities. She has a physical disability, and I thought it was very realistic, the challenges she would come across, but also there's no one to pity her. There's no one giving her an easy time. She's fighting for her life against the elements and against the people who killed her father, and I had a great time reading it. I Am Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall. And then finally, I have another Beauty and the Beast retelling, and that is Hunted by Megan Spooner. I finally read this book this year, and it was a pick by my viewers to read. And this is about a girl named, what's her name? Yeva. And her father goes off hunting and he doesn't come back, and so Yeva goes to find him, and she runs into a beast and, you know, gets trapped in his castle, and there are some things he needs her to do for him. And I don't know, I think it was a really fun winter read. It was a really quick read. I don't think that it was like the bestest, most interesting story I've ever read, but it wasn't super predictable, and it did pull off of a few other myths than just Beauty and the Beast, and I thought that was pretty exciting. So there is 6 recs for things I think you could read in the wintertime. Give them a go. Thank you so much for watching. I put up new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and you can watch some more of them right now. Bye!